who's crazier when it comes to this subject? Women in this country or Republicans? Because Roe v. versus Wade is something I thought would have never been taken away from a right from women. And then there's still women saying, I'm going to vote for Republicans or Trump, who clearly supported a Supreme Court that overturned rights women had fought hard for. So who's the problem? Is it the women? Is it the rights? Is it the rights and the women? Who's crazier? Because Roe v. versus Wade getting overturned, having 5 sisters, when I believe we should live in a world where women make the decisions of what they do with their bodies. It's just natural for me, and men shouldn't have anything to say over that. Who messed that up?
So there's lots of arguments on this point. I am going to say that our disengagement as a collective messed this up. Because what we do specifically on the Democratic side is we've got to get excited, right? So Obama came through and we like, yes, he giving us hope, right? Like everybody's like excited. Like we have to figure out, like right now, everybody's like, well, how you gonna get them off the couch and get them to vote for Joe and Kamala? Like it's all about like, we have to have like somebody or something that like gets us excited versus really saying, you know what? It's that time of the year, gotta go vote. And that's really more so been where the Republicans have always been able to win out because they don't have to be excited. They're like, oh, no, I'm looking out for my pockets. I'm gonna show up because historically they have been the rich folk. They were the rich ones and they want those Trump tax cuts. Like they want to live their best lives and forget the rest of y'all that ain't got no money, right? So, you know, but the thing is, we had these Christo fascist fools that decided, you know what, we want to do this because everybody should have to live under the rule that we have established through our random thinking about the Bible or whatever, right? They didn't do this overnight. This is something that they worked at for years and years and years. And they took advantage of the fact that Democrats have to get excited. Otherwise, they just won't show up.
But why are Democrats not mad when you can see a Republican, was it the Senate or who was it that blocked Obama from adding his Supreme Court justice, but then turned around and gave the same grace that they gave the grace to Trump that they wouldn't give to Obama? Like they're doing it in our face. This is the thing. I feel like we just getting played in our face and nobody's mad about it.
They do play in our faces. That's what I tell people. That's what Project 2025 is, though. They playing in our face. I'm like, this is like that guy that is like going to be this mass killer. There's going to be this active shooter situation.
And this is Trump.
Who's laid out his manifesto where he like, yo, so I'm coming in and I'm fucking all y'all up, right? Like, you reading the manifesto. That is what Project 2025 is.
And he could be doing it from prison. He could be calling it from prison.
And people like, it's cool though. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like they literally are playing in your face. They have laid it out. There's this whole manifesto of all the things that they want to do. And I want somebody to tell me what in Project 2025 is good for black folk. I want that. Please, somebody let me know. But it ain't nothing in there for us, okay? So they're telling you, and black people still like, it's kind of like when you talk about the women. There are always people that vote against their interest, right? Like there are women that clearly, you know, and there's been some of them that have learned through the overturning of Roe with the Dobbs decision that they thought they were pro quote unquote life because they had been raised in a house that said, you know, no matter what. But then they ended up with a complication. They were almost going to lose their lives on a baby that they wanted because they made it seem like abortion was about somebody that was whorish, somebody that was poor, somebody that was a person of color. It wasn't, you know, us good white folk that were just out here. Oh, wait a minute, you're going to touch my IVF? Wait a minute now. My very expensive IVF, like I paid to make sure I could have a baby and you're telling me I'm not gonna be, yeah.
And that's the way when you walk rights back, they start there and keep going.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Which is why I'm like, we should have the biggest coalition of people that come out than we've ever seen in this country because the attacks are not just on trans folk or the LGBTQIA community as a whole. They're not just on black folk. They're on women. They're on immigrants. They're on everybody. Like, if you're not an old, white, rich man, you should be like, well, we got to vote the other way.
Is that why on abortion you did the Abortion Awareness Act, or you
Yes.
introduced? Okay, talk about that so people can be aware.
Yeah, so you know it ain't going nowhere though. But
we got to keep talking about it.
I know. I'm here for it. But you know, with MAGA Mike, he ain't going to allow none of that to go through. So the Abortion Awareness Act is because right now we have like a hodgepodge of laws throughout the country versus having Roe v. Wade be the law of the land, which meant that, you know, for people that don't understand, Roe v. Wade was a privacy decision. And it was actually a decision out of Dallas, Texas, out of my district. So Henry Wade was the district attorney in Dallas County, and there was a woman who was incarcerated in the jail because she had an abortion. And to be clear, Texas now is trying to move back that way. Texas has people that are lawmakers that are proposing the death penalty for anyone who gets an abortion or participates in making sure that a woman can have an abortion.
And even if her father was to rape her
matter.
and she gets
No
pregnant,
exceptions.
raped on the way home from work.
No exceptions. You can be a little girl. No exceptions.
None.
No exceptions. And now they want the death penalty to apply. And so it's crazy to me that Texas set us on the right trajectory, and Texas was pretty much leading the way to make sure that everything got undone. And so the decision was about whether or not you had a right to privacy that could be interpreted through the Constitution that would disallow the government from coming into the privacy of your medical room and your relationship with your medical doctor. The determination was that you do have a right to privacy that is enshrined in the Constitution that protects you in making decisions about your body. And so overturning that basically says, you know what, it's a threat to privacy as a whole. And so for those that may say, well, I disagree with abortion, you can disagree all you want to. But like, what if there's some other medical condition that you have? What is to prevent the government from coming in and interjecting itself into whatever medical issue you have? It's one of the reasons I did have a little clip that was getting a little traction, because we had the FDA administrator that came before us in oversight. And this is as we're waiting on the mifepristone case to come down, and it had just been argued, or it was about to be argued, one of the two. And I talked about Viagra, because if we're gonna talk about mifepristone, we're gonna talk about Viagra. And so, but like literally like making sure that people that think that this fight doesn't involve them understand that it doesn't stop, that it continues on. And so while you may not understand how our fates are tied, they are. And that is probably the strongest message that I can put out there, is that you don't ever have to agree with my blackness. You don't ever have to agree that I should have autonomy over my body. But what you should be able to agree with is the idea of freedom, and that this country is based upon the ideal of freedom. And it's what makes us stand out from the rest of the world. It is why we are the beacon of hope. It is why we are the leaders of the world. And if we lose our freedoms, whether it's freedom of press, whether it's freedom of speech, whatever freedoms, or literally reproductive freedoms, or whether it's our access to the ballot box, if we lose our freedoms, then who are we? Mm-hmm. And I think that if we just kind of focus on that, I think that people will better understand. That's why I don't really want people to really focus on, do I love this person? Do I agree with this person wholeheartedly? All that kind of stuff. Because I tell people all the time, you don't agree with your spouse all the time, but you stay with them and you love them. So there you go. Like, I mean, you ain't got to agree with Biden all the time, but is he like going to abuse you like Trump? No. So like, rock out with him.